Hello, you're okay?
Hi. Hi, how are you?
I'm alright.
I don't have
Just
a
woke
camera,
up.
sorry.
No camera. That's alright, don't worry. You
Okay,
can look at me.
great, great.
Sure, I have as much time as you need, so it's all good.
Okay, thank you very much.
At the moment, I'm just getting over the process for black market enlightenment was really like a very work intensive process. So, as Antimatter is just one person and has been for the last almost 15 years, then the burden for the work falls on my shoulders alone. So when I'm just coming out of the cycle of recording and releasing an album, I'm very kind of tired, so I'm just waiting for the energy to come back. So, but that said, I've done 2 tours since the album was recorded, and also I'm just putting the finishing touches on mixing the audio for another release, which I hope to have released later this year. It's been really positive, a lot of people are saying it's the best Antimatter album so far. Some people are saying it's the best Antimatter album since leaving Eden, because there's some people out there who insist that I'll never make an album as good as
I
leaving
don't think
Eden.
that's true, really.
I beg to differ, hopefully I've still got some good work left in me, and leaving Eden was 10 years ago, so
Okay,
feedback's been amazing, to be honest. I've got to keep working, otherwise I'll go crazy, so.
of course. So, why did you choose this concept for your latest album? What's the reason for
Well,
it?
well, I like working to concepts, and also um, I'm a chronic overthinker, so I always analyse and overanalyse my own circumstances and things that have happened in my past, and situations I've been in, and naturally, the situation that the album was based upon and built around was quite a large issue that I had, many years ago. So it's already an issue that I've thought over and over about, over the last 20 years. So it was bound to come out in lyrics. And what I tend to do is, because I analyse any issue from many different angles, that means I will write many different songs about a certain issue. So what I'll tend to do is group them all together, and that will be a concept album, because it makes sense to group all the songs together about the same issue. And they weren't all about the same thing, but like each song was about a different aspect, So yeah, I mean, I just, it's all autobiographical, I write about what I've been through and also the things that I see. I mean,
Okay.
I've got a notepad here, and I kind of jot ideas down, and I often find that a lot of songs come from, like, I always say the same thing: the music comes from a positive place. The music from me comes from a very positive place inside me, because when I was a kid, I didn't have any brothers and sisters, so I sought solace within music, and I listened to a lot of music when I was younger. And I had I had a turntable in my bedroom, and there was just me and my turntable, and I used to put records on and flip the record and keep listening. And so as I've got older, music's always been with me, and I've got the urge to write and create music, and that comes from a positive place, but the lyrics come from more of an analytical, critical place, So I always jot, if I'm sitting there thinking about something and I come to a conclusion, I'll usually jot it down on a notepad, so that if at any point in the future I'm like, looking for something to write about, and I've usually got quite a few things in waiting that I can tackle head on. Don't think while I write I'm particularly thinking about conveying a message. I kind of write. I mean, I don't think I mean, I don't think I do, because I write in very metaphoric ways, you know. So I think if I was more concerned about getting a message across, I'd write a hell of a lot more literally, you know. Whereas songs like The Third Arm, that song is about addiction and repetitively making the same mistake every single day. Whereas I don't think that's particularly obvious in the lyrics, because I've written it in metaphor. You know, Sanctification is about falling in love with LSD and the experience of being on acid. I don't think that's obvious from reading the lyrics. So I think if I was thinking mainly about conveying a message, then I would write in a completely different way so that the listener could understand the message. But that said, the time for me to convey the message is during interviews, you know, and afterwards when people ask me about the music, and that's the time that I convey the message, you know. I mean, you could get the message if you can relate, you know, if you can relate to something. Like if somebody was to metaphorically write about something that like I was already aware of, then quite possibly I could decode and decipher what they were writing about and then connect to it. Well, obviously when anybody, you know, sends a message of, you know, connection, you know, on any level, it's a really great feeling, you know. It reassures me that I'm not just throwing things out there and it's kind of falling flat on the floor, you know. So I mean that's great. I mean, at the end of the day, when I say the music comes from a positive place, I really mean that. And I think music's been one of my best friends throughout my life. It's been incredibly therapeutic for my mental health, just to listen to other people's music and be able to kind of go on a journey, just listening to other people's music. So, I mean, that's what it's here for. It's here to kind of do that job, to reach into other people's, you know, bodies and kind of elevate them from normality for a short period of time. And if somebody, you know, sends a message that my music's doing the same thing, then obviously it reassures me that my music's working, you know. This time I specifically wanted to step back from lead guitar breaks, because, you know, it's been very lead guitar centric since leaving Eden, and that's, you know, over 10 years. And I was just thinking I'd just like to explore, I mean, because I like instrumental passages and I like having those extraneous melodies that a lead instrument brings to a track, because you can let go of the vocal for a short period of time and then go on a journey with a musical melody, and that's very important to me. And I just felt that for many years that musical journey was being led by a lead guitar, and I wanted this time to, for God's sake, just what can we do that's a bit different, you know. So saxophone has always been an ambition of mine to use. I think it's such an incredibly kind of vibrant sound. It just kind of shouts out of the, you know, out of the music. I've always loved the saxophone solo, you know. So I kind of wanted the saxophone in Leaving Eden just on one song, and I didn't get the time, I couldn't find anybody, and then I wanted one for the next album and I didn't get the time, and then I wanted one for the next album and I ran out of time. And I made sure this time that I forced myself to find a saxophone player. And it was the same thing again. I was just searching, you know, and, you know, there was flute and there was Comanche, which is this, you know, this Eastern bowed instrument, which I didn't even know what the instrument was called, but I was paying a visit to Armenia to shoot the Third Arm video. And I asked Andre from the Beautified project, could he identify this instrument for me and find somebody who played it, you know. So I think that brought a hell of a lot of wealth of colour black market enlightenment. And certainly in the future, I will keep an open mind, you know, as to what other instruments are out there to, you know, I mean, there's not a huge range of instruments to choose from, you know. I mean, you've got your bowed instruments, you've got your winds, you know. But yeah, I'll keep an open mind for sure in the future. Well, the release that I'm working on at the moment, it's not a new album. What it is, it's an archived release. But I can't talk too much about that at the moment because I'm keeping it a secret as to what it actually is at the moment. So I can't really talk too much about that. But it's not a new album. But what it is, it's an archive recording of something we did about 3 years ago, it's really beautiful actually. And I'm keeping a lid on it at the moment as to what it actually is. But am I writing at the moment? I'm not writing at the moment. The next Antimatter album, the next Antimatter full-length album is pretty much already written, because I'm quite a prolific writer. So I've got this archive release coming up, and I already have the next album written. I'm probably a bit of a control freak in me that, you know, wants to just keep a finger in every hole, you know, and I just wanted to, the whole release side of things, I've been watching independent bands release, you know, EPs and short runs of independently produced CDs over Facebook and on the internet, and I've kind of been watching them, and I didn't realise I was getting more and more envious when I'm watching people do this. And it was quite a quiet envy at first. I wasn't really paying attention to it, but then every time I see somebody releasing something on Facebook, and you know, they print it themselves, and I realised I really wanted to do it myself. So it was very kind of inspired by watching independent bands go about their business, and I thought, mustn't that be, you know, a really kind of great, you know, to go on your own campaign and work hard to make your own sales, you know, and take care of things that way. And I tried it at first with because I set up my own record label 10 years ago, just to release kind of vanity projects and, you know, live albums, but not studio albums. And in 2007, I think it was 2007 or maybe 2008, I released the live DVD called Live Between the Earth and Clouds. And I did that on my record label, and it was great. It was just a great feeling to do. And I just loved it, you know, taking care of it and then going out on tour with loads of boxes of DVDs and then setting up shop and then letting the customers come and talking to people as they're buying things. And I thought, this is great. Let's try this just once. Let's try it for a studio album and see how it goes. And for me, it was utterly the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. It was a big gamble. I mean, I invested a sickening amount of money into black market enlightenment, and I worked at it for 18 months, you know. So to work for 18 months to go into a hugely negative financial position with no guarantee really that I was going to make sales or enough sales to recoup, it was scary, but I'm glad I did it, you know. The gamble certainly paid off, and I've enjoyed it, and maybe I'll do it again for the next studio album. Absolutely, it was, yeah. I mean, like I say, it was at one point it was very, very scary. I got to the end of just before I released the album, and after I'd manufactured it, recorded it, paid for the fucking video, paid for everything, you know, and I was looking at the finances, and I'm just like, oh my God, I mean, this is like I've really took a real gamble here, and it was just like a big cost, you know, and it was scary, you know, it was a really scary prospect, but it was the right thing to do. No, I think I'm just going to move on to the next campaign. It was really, um, I kind of at that point in time I did as much as I possibly could for black market enlightenment, and by the time I'd finished, I was kind of spiritually um, exhausted when it came to that particular album and everything to do with it, and that's kind of done. I'm not sure I can go back and revisit. I mean, I would have liked to have made a video for Partners in Crime, because I had quite a interesting idea for that, where it could kind of mix up like sexual connotations with the idea of people getting together purely to indulge in drugs or alcohol, and I had a kind of a sleazy idea for that, where I could mix up imagery. But again, if I was to enter into that, then I would just take energy away from the next thing, and I'm already on to the next. I'm already on to the next thing, so I don't think I will be doing any further videos for Black Market Enlightenment songs.
Okay, so what inspires you in everyday life and in everything? I mean, it's like you can say whatever you want, but what inspires you mostly?
Music inspires me. I mean, like I said earlier, it's like I love music. I always have done, and as long as I remember, as small as I can remember, I was reaching for my mum's, 7-inch records, and my dad's Beatles records. They were just like down there on the floor with me, and I was reaching for them. And what's this thing, and I got shown that you put a needle on the record and music comes out. And then I got a reel-to-reel tape, like a big, two reels, and I think I had 2 Beatles songs on it, which was Penny Lane and All You Need Is Love. And I remember sitting there, and I remember the time, and I was very young, but my ears tuned into the fact that music was actually a layer of many different things. So I started tuning into the drums alone, and then I tuned into the bass guitar alone, and then I tuned into the singing, and I was like, already as a kid, I was analysing what music was made up as. And right the way through my life, I've always hid in music. It's been just an embryonic place, so music inspires me. Music has always inspired me, and to this day I'm getting into Spotify at the moment, and I'm searching for new bands, new sounds, and music inspires me. Well, again, I mean, I'll talk about the third arm because it's quite vital at the moment, and it's fresh, so again, and it would be nice if people fully understood what the third arm is about. It's about a time in my life where I was chronically smoking hash, and what I was doing, I was waking up at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd be awake for a few hours, and ultimately I'd make a joint and then start smoking it and stay awake until 4 a.m. and then sleep for 12 hours. And that was my daily cycle, and that went on for a long time. And I was getting a lot of mental issues, with the marijuana and the hours I was keeping. And I was I'd already identified that I should stop and make a change for the better. But unfortunately, by that time, my dopamine reward system had been hijacked by drugs. So every day would start the same. I'd wake up and I'd say, today is the day that I will stop. And you realise that you've just got to get through 24 hours. All you need to do is get through morning tonight without reaching for your stash. And you've just took your first major step towards improving your life on a major level. And every day at some point, I would feel something inside of me reaching out of my body, reaching towards my stash. And I would desperately try and keep my hands by my side. And the way I used to describe it to myself, it was a third arm would reach out of my body and reach for my drugs and build a joint. And while I'm building the joint, I used to get this huge rush of excitement, which is your dopamine reward system getting ready to get a flush of dopamine. And that excitement would also be mixed with a depressing realization that I was a failure again. So that's what the song's about. And it's that horrible mixture of excitement and failure, at the same time. Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I was that way for about realistically about 8 to 10 years, And I had a son. He was born in 1999, and that my son being born just encouraged me to really get my shit together, So it all ended well. But this cyclic process, I think a lot of people are fighting this every day, be it with and I've said this before, it could be heroin, it could be alcohol, or it could be cheeseburgers,
Yeah, sure.
People get hooked on this destructive cycle, and they know they should stop, and they just can't stop. And it's a horrible, horrible cycle to be in. Well, back in August, I think it was August 1995, I made the decision to just I bought a drum machine back then. I mean, Cubase and home PC was not really quite common back in 24 years ago, and I bought a drum machine and a electric guitar and a guitar pedal and an old 4-track tape recorder. And the whole idea was that I could just start making music without having to rely on people, because I'd been in 3 different bands up until that point. And the same thing happened every time. You'd get 4 or 5 guys together, and then 1 minute 1 or 2 people drop out and the band's finished. And I didn't want that to happen ever again. So I've always been at a point, since 95, where I'd be taking care of everything alone. I'd write the drums electronically and play the bass guitar and keyboards and the guitar. And when I started singing, I could do that. And it's kind of like the whole process together, which is what I enjoy. I'm not sure there's any particular one thing that kind of sticks out. I mean, if anything, I enjoy singing, more than playing the instruments, because you kind of bring something up from, deep inside yourself after you've had a bloody good sing. You kind of feel like you've got something out. So yeah, probably singing. What I started doing was I've always worked to create a strong emotional feeling in my stomach that matches the emotional feelings that I've felt when I've been listening to music my whole life. So the best music that I've listened to has been, and it doesn't matter what style of music it is, it has been the music that while I've been listening to it and concentrating on it, it's been affecting me like a drug, in my stomach, and my stomach's been in knots while I listen to it. So I seek to recreate that inside myself while I'm composing music. I'm looking for melodies and chord progressions and rhythms that create a knot in my stomach. And I said recently, it's like I'm a surgeon operating on himself, to create this feeling. And once I find something that gives me a strong feeling, I know it must work, because if it works on me, it must work. And so that's kind of where I work from. That's the angle that I'm coming from. And I think if it creates a feeling in me, then it's going to create a feeling in some other people, you know, who knows? But that's where I work from. And obviously you talk about experience, but you know, I've been writing, or trying to write, since August 1995, which is, you know, it's 24 years. That's nearly a quarter of a century. And if you do anything for a quarter of a century, quite full on, you're going to get quite good at it. And I'm not saying I'm good or I'm amazing or anything, but that's just a statement. That's a fact. You know, if you play golf for 25 years, you're going to go from kind of like picking up a golf club and being crap at it. And 25 years later, you're going to be considerably better than the day you started. It's like people learn to drive a car, you know, and day one they don't know what they're doing, and then they pass the test. And it's like anything, you know, you play a computer game and you pick it up, you play it for the first time, you get killed immediately. Play it for a few months, next minute you're a fucking ninja. You do anything with any amount of repetition, with your heart in it, and you're going to improve and improve over time. So it's the combination of those two things. I seek to create a strong feeling in myself, and I've been seeking to create that strong feeling for a quarter of a century. So I've got better and better at it as time's gone by. Well, I did want to take a break from touring. This was early 2019. I just got so burnt out. I'd just finished the album, released the album, gone on tour, took a break for Christmas, went to Dubai, played a gig, came back, went back out on fucking tour again. And I just felt all my love for performing just die, you know, and the whole process was just killing me. And there's no point in doing it if you feel like that. So I got home and I said to the guys in the live band, because obviously I have to take people away with me when I play, because I'm not a fucking octopus, so I can't play all the guitars myself. And I said to the guys, look, I think I'm quite burnt out, and I'm going to do one more tour and then I'm finished for a while. So we did one more tour, and strangely, it was one of the best tours I've ever done, and I didn't expect that. I expected to hate it and just be counting the days till I got home. But I think something strange happened while we were away. I changed the running order of the set, and the set became absolutely the best Antimatter set I've ever played. You know, I've been playing live for 17 years, and it's just the best set. It's just the best flow of songs. All the songs are at the right point in the set, and I got home and I thought, fuck, I actually want to do this again and again and again. So yeah, I changed my mind on that. Yeah, and I want to do it. I want to do one more Black Market tour in autumn.
Great. So
it won't be as long as the others. It will be short, maybe 10, 12 days. Yeah, I want to do it one last time. It looks that way. I mean, the Greek audiences were just shockingly good. You know, they seem to really be invested in what's happening on the stage and invested in the music. And it's great, you know, because first time we came to Greece back in the days with Duncan, we were existing off a lot of goodwill that people had for Anathema back in the day. And it's been a good thing to get away from that, because I think you should exist from the goodwill that people have got for your music and the history that they've got with your own music, rather than the history they've got with somebody else's band. So it's been great to switch from one thing to another over the course of 17 years. But like the first time we came, it was fantastic. And then I think I went back in 2008, and it was like I was struggling to get people to turn up, and in Athens, and then we kind of left it for a long time, and then came back, you know, over the last few years, and I didn't know how it would be in Greece, but all of a sudden people are turning up, you know, people have really found a love for the music, and that was just great. That was amazing. And I've got to say, I love the Greek foods. I love eating in Greece, you know. I look forward to that just as much as the gigs. Right now, I've got 2 weeks to just finish off mixing this or release that I'm working on, and then get it off to Daniel Cardoso to get mastered. And then I'm going to go on holiday and get some sun, because sun plays a big part in my mental health. And it's been quite grey here in the UK, and I really just need some sunshine. So that's my immediate plans, is just finish this release and then go on holiday and get some sun. Just to anybody who's, you know, come to a show, or, you know, bought a CD, or, you know, bought a t-shirt, or bought a download, or, you know, sent a message over the internet or showed support in any way. Like, it all counts. It all goes towards letting somebody know that what they're doing. That, I mean, because when you spend your time working on music, I mean, it's a great thing to do, but sometimes you can think, am I insane? You know, kind of thing. Like, what? You don't doubt yourself, but like, you do it, and you put so much. Some musicians invest so much energy into what they're doing, you know, and just to get anything back, like a message, or, you know, people turning up at a show, it means a lot, you know. And you know, whether that's me or other people, but I think we've got to keep this thing alive, you know, because people keep saying, you know, though, the music scene's dead, or, you know, record companies are finished and stuff like that. But I don't see that. People keep turning up for gigs, and, you know, sales keep happening, you know, so it all adds up, and it's all important. And I'd like to say, certainly from me, thank you. Hi, this is Mick Moss from Antimatter, and of course Sleeping Pulse and the Beautified Project, and you're listening to Black Velvet Radio. Looking forward to coming back to Greece soon. I appreciate the interview. I appreciate it, and I say that to everybody who offers to do this. So, you know, it's mutual. Thank you very much for this. Awesome. Come and say hello.
Of course. So thank you, Mick.
Thank you. Take care. Maybe speak to you soon.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.